For if a man think himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself. But let every man prove his own work, and then shall he have rejoicing in himself alone, and not in another. For every man shall bear his own burden. Let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption. But he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap everlasting life. Galatians 6, 3-8. Welcome once again to the Gap Fillers podcast. Thank you for joining me, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Bradford, and let's get started. Big topic this week is DOGE. The Democrats are finally coming out swinging back and showing up where they're not supposed to be, trying to break into the Department of Education and USAID. But first, I want to cover some local news. We have some local elections coming up and here in Central Florida. Flagler Beach residents, on March 4th, you will be electing 2 city commissioners. And March 11th, Belle Isle, Ocoee, Windermere, and Winter Park, you all have city elections. Scroll down here. Brevard County, you will be have a special election on April 1st to elect a Florida Senate District 19. Here in Orlando, City Council Districts 1, 3, and 5 will all be up for election in November, as well as Oviedo Mayor and City Council Group number 1. And that is in November 4th, I believe it is. So watch out for those. Cape Canaveral, Indian Atlantic, Indian Harbor Beach, Melbourne Village, Palm Shore, Rockledge, Claremont. You all have elections in November 4th. Yep. And City of Tavares as well. That is in August. So that's the Central Florida elections this year. This is a big chance to continue the momentum from November. This is when it usually subsides, and typically what happens is when somebody is elected to the presidency, their party tends to back off and relax. What ends up happening is you end up with a big pushback, usually a counterculture kind of wave that sweeps through. You saw this in 2008 or 2010, really, during Obama with the Tea Party, and then you saw it again when Trump got elected in 2000, and then you had it in 2018, where people there was a blue wave of sorts. So, we see these reactions and, pushbacks, and there's not usually a candidate, president is usually no more popular than when they are first elected. This is an odd one out, though, because Trump is the second president to run non-consecutive terms. So this will be interesting. Pay attention. Know when your city elections are coming up. I'll highlight a few of them. There's no way I can cover all of them. I'd like to at least cover a few because that's kind of the point of this podcast. So that being said, I want to move on to some local or some state news. Is Ron DeSantis thinks James Uthmeyer could prosecute Anthony Fauci. This is kind of the idea that I had a while back when Joe Biden handed out his unlimited amounts of pardons to people who haven't even been charged with anything yet, just in case they committed a crime, they get pardoned. So this is from Florida Politics. Governor Ron DeSantis thinks Joe Biden's pardons of Anthony Fauci leaves opening for the soon-to-be Attorney General to prosecute the doctor for pandemic misdeeds. Quote, we have got a new Attorney General coming in. I think he's of the mindset to look at this to see what jurisdictional hooks are, to see what, if any, statutes may have been violated. That's from DeSantis. So this is an interesting policy. I'm all here for it, especially pushing back against Fauci. There was worry that people were going to go after the Jan 6 commission. I think that was sort of it had at least the appearance of a legit thing, whereas Fauci is just pretty much a crook. If people are mad about Elon Musk not being elected, Fauci is the nth degree of that. With DOGE, it's cutting government. With Fauci, it was let's shut down the entire economy, let's shut down the world, and so Biden should really be upset because he's getting blamed for inflation that was probably more caused by what Fauci suggested, and because Mr. Science knows best. For those of you who don't know, he claimed, quote, I am the science. In a congressional hearing. I believe that was with Rand Paul. Him and Rand Paul were going at it about gain of function research, which is the basically developing a virus or bacteria of some kind that you basically create the malicious virus in order to develop a cure against it. And he was pushing up really bad against that, and that was one of Rand Paul's highlights of his career, was pushing up against Fauci. But if New York can do that against Trump for bring state allegations against Trump, then Florida should definitely look at doing that at least against Fauci, and either put the whole nonsense to bed about states going after federal officials, or we get Fauci arrested. It's a win-win either way. So that's that's just the way I see it on that one. I'm okay with not going after the Jan 6 committee, really. I know a lot of people that want blood on that one though too. So it's a weird thing because you always gotta balance the measure of forgiveness and moving on with justice, and there comes a time for both. And Trump seems to be leaning more towards the letting it go and just letting his actions be his retribution, getting rid of a lot of the corruption and the inefficiencies with DOGE. So, which brings me to that. DOGE is only in its second week and is charging full steam ahead. If you follow DOGE on X, they are constantly putting out updates daily, referencing different contracts that they're canceling. Let's see here. February 3rd, 22 consulting contract terminations for total saving of $45 million. 20 consecutive consulting contracts for, quote, strategic communication and executive coaching were terminated for immediate saving of $26 million. See, this is the idea behind a lot of government spending. Is people think nickel and dimes. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. You do that over 400 agencies, and you get trillions of dollars worth of debt. Updated data on DEI related contract cancellations. Every single portion of the government had DEI in it. And we were spending billions of dollars on this stuff. We're spending money on foreign drag shows and foreign TV shows for transvestites. It's insane. For all the pushback in years about, oh, we just want equal rights. Oh, we just want equal rights. No, they demand that you not only agree with them, but that you push for their. It's a religion. It's so. Let's see here. According to the AP, there's been some pushback on what some of the claims came from USAID. One of them that did come from USAID was $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbia's workplace. Who the crap cares about Serbia's workplace? Why is America even remotely concerned about that? $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland, $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic in Peru. Okay, this is all nuts. It's literally insane. That's so you can, instead of thinking about it this way, right? Okay, if you pay $10,000 in taxes every year, if you make $66,000 a year, that's $10,000 in taxes. At 16%, give or take, that would be closer to $80,000. So if you make $80,000, you're paying $10,000 in taxes. So that's three full taxpayers, or $80,000 worth of income paid to in taxes paid to transgender comic in Peru. Okay, and they go, oh well, the only grant that was through DEI or through USAID was the Serbian organization thing, Grupa Izja, or whatever it's called. No, okay, well the other stuff came through the State Department's Office of Undersecretary for Diplomacy and Public Affairs. Oh, good for you. It's still corruption. It's still insane. I don't care if it comes from USAID. I don't care if it comes from the Department of Education, Department of Energy, the State Department. I don't care where it comes from. If it's terrible spending, it's terrible spending. It's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. I can't say that enough. $32,000 awarded to Peru in 2020. A tailor-made comic. Why? It is seriously like the government looks to spend money on anything that remotely sounds good, as long as it's not white American. It's they'll give out money to everybody and their mother, as long as it's not just if you're a Christian, nope. If you're it's Marxist. It's a Marxist ideology. If you're viewed as the powerful, which is I hate using the word cis, but cis white Christian males, as long as you're not one of those, you get some of our money. Why? Because it makes us feel better. It is a Marxist ideology of power dynamics. People view whoever is viewed with the power is viewed as evil. And so this is why Democrats always go with Hamas. This is why, because Hamas is great at playing the victim. If this LBGT crap, they're great at playing the victim. And it's a pyramid of victimhood. And who can it's a race to the bottom on who can be the victim the most. If you could be a gay Muslim Indian, Native American, that would be like their dream. Oh, and transvestite. You'd be gay, a transvestite, and Indian, and a Muslim, and that would be the ultimate like victimhood. You win the victimhood game. It is seriously a race to the bottom, and it creates the exact wrong mindset of continuing a civilization. If you want to continue a civilization, you must have an overwhelming majority of citizens racing to the top. Who can outcompete each other? Not tear each other down, but who can outcompete each other to be the best of the best. Okay, there's this common thing in the military is that if you're if you're not working your hardest, you got to think about there's somebody out there that's working harder than you, or working just as hard or harder than you to try to beat you. And that is the way it is on the world stage. If America is not consistently improving itself to be better, to be the best it can be, we're going to fall behind. And this DEI crap is the exact wrong mindset. We need to be a moral society. We need to be a responsible society. And that does not come through DEI. It does not come through LGBT. It comes through working hard. It comes through Christian morals. It comes through God. It comes through taking responsibility, the maximum amount of burden that you can carry. If you do not carry your burden, you are a burden to somebody else. So I have to leave it at that, or else I'm going to continue going on for hours. We should definitely look at cutting the entire Department of Education. That would save $250 billion a year for something that has gone directly made education worse. Education has never been worse. If you want government to do something, to make something worse, make it declare a war on something. Make it a government program, because then they're incentivized to make it as worse as possible to prolong the problem, so you have to give them more money. So $250 billion gets you an eighth of the way there to getting rid of the entire deficit. A lot of it can be made up through efficiencies and growing the economy. So you're not going to make up a $2 trillion gap overnight. I see Elon being right that you can possibly do it by 2026 or the end of 2026 through economic growth. They're looking at closing loopholes for taxes. And that hurts. And there's not that I don't want people taking advantage of the system, but what I wish people, if it's every free man's right to try to evade taxes. So if you can find a way to not pay your taxes, good on you. However, what ends up happening is that a poor guy, somebody it's not poor, because poor people don't pay taxes either. They get all their all the refunds back, all their taxes pretty much back. Only half of Americans actually have a net cost in taxes. But so if you make over, I think it's $50,000. Let me look that up real quick. Let's see here. Yeah, according to the Pew Research poll, there's tens of millions of Americans owed little or no federal income tax, especially after factoring in the effects of refundable tax credits, such as child and earned income credits. In 2020, IRS received 5.3 million returns with no AGI, no taxable income. Another 60 million returns showed AGIs of less than 30,000. The average tax rate would be 1.5 even before the tax credits were applied. Millions of Americans actually get money from the IRS, largely due to federal tax credits. So there you go. So the loopholes they're really trying to close down, Trump has highlighted before. This is called the carried interest tax loophole. And Democrats should like this one. Why? Because it would make, quote, them pay their fair share. According to CBS News, President Trump is proposing to eliminate a tax loophole that a longtime target of Democrat lawmakers. Mr. Trump is working on no tax for seniors. Good. Social Security, obviously. Why? That's the self-licking ice cream cone again. Why tax something that the government is paying for? It makes no sense. It's like taxing federal officials. No tax and overtime pay. Good. Carried interest deduction loophole. The latter tax break might not be well known to Americans, given that it's primarily used by hedge funds, private equity firms, and other types of investment funds. That loophole allows investment managers to greatly lower their taxable income, a major perk for investors whose annual income can amount to billions. Basically, it makes, instead of it counting as income, you can count it as capital gains. And so, let's see here. Which is carried interest refers to the income that investment managers collect from their funds, which is typically 20% of the profits. Under current tax law, the income is taxed as a capital gain, which has a top tax rate of 20% for long-term gains, versus the highest tax rate of 37% for regular income. That's a difference of 17%. So if you're making $1 million, that's a difference between $170,000. So that's what the carried interest would save you. The carried interest tax loophole is one of the clearest examples of our two-tiered class system, said David Cass, executive director of the tax advocacy group American Tax Fairness. So there you go. It's targeting hedge funds and wealth managers. So it's hard to disagree with, going after some of those guys. But at the end of the day, taxation is theft, and we need to make government as efficient as possible so they can steal as little as possible. And I'm all here for that again. So, thank you for joining me this week. It's been a slower program due to different circumstances during the day. So I appreciate you joining me this week. If you want to support Gap Fillers Podcast, like me on Facebook, follow me on X, keep on saying Twitter. Share. Word of mouth is how this podcast is going to grow. I appreciate you joining me this week, and have a good one.